Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm glad to be back with you this evening. We're getting very near the end of our book, The Long Winter by Laura Ingalls Wilder. 4 days blizzard. All day, while Laura turned the coffee mill or twisted hay, she remembered that Cap Garland and the younger Wilder brother were driving across the trackless snow fields, going in search of wheat to bring home to the town. That afternoon, she and Mary went out in the backyard for a breath of air, and Laura looked fearfully to the northwest, dreading to see the low-lying rim of darkness that was a sure sign that a blizzard was coming. There was no cloud, but still she distrusted the bright sunshine. It was too bright. On the snow-covered prairie, glittering as far as eyes could see, seemed menacing. She shivered. "Let's go in, Laura," Mary said. "The sunshine's too cold. Do you see a cloud?" "There's no cloud," Laura reassured her, "but I don't like the weather. The air feels savage somehow." "The air is only air," Mary replied. "You mean it's cold." "I don't either mean it's cold. I mean it's savage," Laura snapped. They went back into the kitchen, through the lean-to into the entryway. Ma looked up from Pa's sock that she was darning. "You didn't stay out long, girls," she said. "You should get fresh air while you can before the next storm comes." Pa came into the entry. Ma put away her work and took from the oven the loaf of sourdough brown bread, while Laura poured the thin codfish gravy into a bowl. "Gravy again? Good," Pa said, sitting down to eat. The cold and hard work of hauling hay had made him hungry. His eyes glittered at the sight of food. Nobody, he said, could beat Ma at making good bread, and nothing was better on bread than codfish gravy. He made the coarse bread and the gruel of ground wheat flour with a bit of salt fish in it seem almost like a treat. "The boys have a fine day for their trip," he said. "I saw where one of the horses went down in the big slough, but they got him out with no trouble." "Do you think they'll get back all right, Pa?" Carrie asked timidly, and Pa said, "No reason why not, if the weather holds." He went out to do the chores. The sun had set, and the light was growing dim when he came back. He came through the front door, so they knew that he had gone across the street to get the news. They knew when they saw him that it was not good news. "We're in for it again," he said, as he hung his coat and cap on the nail behind the door. "There's a cloud coming fast." "They didn't get back?" Ma asked him. No, Pa said. Ma silently rocked, and they all sat silent while the dusk deepened. Grace was asleep in Mary's lap. The others drew their chairs closer to the stove, but they were still silent, just waiting. When the jar of the house came and the roar of and howl of the wind, Pa rose with a deep breath. "Well, here it is again." Then suddenly he shook his fist at the northwest. "Howl, blast you!" he shouted. "We're all safe here. You can't get us. You've tried all winter, but we'll beat you yet. We'll be right here when spring comes." "Charles, Charles," Ma said soothingly. "It's only a blizzard. We're used to them." Pa dropped back in his chair. After a minute he said, "That was foolish, Carolyn. Seemed for a minute like that wind was something alive trying to get at us." "It does seem so sometimes," Ma went on, soothing him. See what he looked like when he did that? I'll show you. I wouldn't mind so much if I could play the fiddle, Pa murmured, looking down at his cracked and stiffened hands that could be seen in the glow of the fire from the cracks in the stove. In all the times before, Pa had made music for them all. Now, no one could make music for him. Laura tried to cheer herself by remembering what Pa had said. They were all there, safe. But she wanted to do something for Pa. Then suddenly she remembered, we're all here. It was the chorus of the Song of the Free Men. We can sing, she exclaimed, and she began to hum the tune. Pa looked up quickly. You've got it, Laura, but you're a little high. Try a B flat, he said. Laura started the tune again. First Pa, then the others joined him in, and they sang. When Paul and Silas were bound in jail, do thyself no harm. One did sing and the other did pray, do thyself no harm. We're all here, do thyself no harm. We're all here, do thyself no harm. If religion was a thing that money could buy, do thyself no harm. The rich would live and the poor would die, do thyself no harm. Laura was standing up now, and so was Carrie, and Grace was awake and singing with all of her might. We're all here, do thyself no harm. We're all here, do thyself no harm. That was fine, Pa said. Then he sounded a low note and began another song. The old Jim River I float down, I ran my boat upon the ground. The drift log come with a rustling din, and stove both ends of my old boat in. Now all together with the chorus, and they all sang. It will never do to give it up so, it will never do to give it up so, it will never do to give it up so, Mr. Brown. It will never do to give it up so. When they stopped singing, the storm seemed louder than ever. It was truly like a great beast worrying the house, shaking it and growling and snarling, whining and roaring at the trembling walls that stood against it. After a moment, Pa sang again, and the stately measures were suited to the thankfulness they were all feeling. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Then Ma began. When I can read my title clear to mansions in the skies, I bid farewell to every fear and wipe my weeping eyes. The storm raged outside, screaming and hammering at the walls and windows, but they were safely sheltered and huddled in the warmth of the hay fire, so they went on singing. It was just past bedtime when the warmth died from the stove, and because they could not waste hay, they crept from the dark, cold kitchen into the colder, dark upstairs and went to bed. Under the quilts, Laura and Mary silently said their prayers, and Mary whispered, Laura? What? What, Laura? Or what, Mary? Did you pray for them? Yes, Laura answered. Do you think we ought to? It isn't asking for anything for ourselves, Mary replied. I didn't say anything about the wheat. I only said, please save their lives, if it's your will, God. I think it should be, Laura said. They were doing their best. And Pa lived 3 days in the Christmas blizzard when we were at Plum Creek. All the days of that blizzard, nothing more was said about Cap Garland and the young Wilder brother. If they had found shelter, they might live through the storm. If not, nothing could be done for them. It would do no good to talk about it. The constant beating of the winds against the house, the roaring, shrieking, howling of the storm, made it even harder to think. It was possible only to... Sorry, I burnt my thumb. It's hard to turn the page. It was hard to wait for the storm to stop. All the time while they ground wheat, twisted hay, kept the fire burning in the stove, and huddled over it to thaw their chapped, numb hands and their itching, burning, chill-blazed feet, and while they chewed and swallowed the coarse bread, they were all waiting for the storm to stop. It did not stop during the third day or the third night. In the fourth morning, it was still blowing fiercely. No sign of a let-up, Pa said when he came in from the stable. This is the worst yet. After a while, when they were all eating their morning bread, Ma roused herself and answered, "I hope everyone's all right in town." There was no way to find out. Laura thought of the other houses only across the street, that they could not be seen. For some reason, she remembered Mrs. Boast. They had not seen her since last summer, nor Mr. Boast, since the long ago time when he brought the last butter. "But we might as well be out on the claim too," she said. Ma looked at her, wondering what she meant, but she did not ask. All of them were only waiting for the blizzard to stop. That morning, Ma carefully poured the last kernels of wheat into the coffee mill. There was enough to last one small loaf of bread could be made. Ma scraped the bowl with a spoon and then with her fingers to get every bit of dough into the baking pan. "This is the last, Charles," she said. "I can get more," Pa told her. Amanza Wilder was saving some seed wheat. "I can get it, though, through the blizzard if I have to." Late that day, when the bread was on the table, the walls stopped shaking. The howling shrillness went away, and only a rushing wind whistled under the eaves. Pa got up quickly, saying, "I believe it's stopping." He put on his coat and cap and muffler and told Ma that he was going across the street to Fuller's store. Looking through peepholes that they scratched in the frost, Laura and Carrie saw snow blowing by in a straight wind. Ma relaxed in her chair and sighed. What a merciful quiet. The snow was settling. After a while, Carrie saw the sky, and Laura went to go see it. They looked at the cold, thin blue overhead and at the warm light of sunset and the low blowing snow. The blizzard really had ended, and the northwest sky was empty. "I hope Cap Garland and young Mr. Wilder are somewhere safe," Carrie said. So did Laura, but she knew that saying it would make no difference. And that's the end of this chapter. So, see what happens tomorrow. It's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to pray blessings on you and yours, in your house, out of your house, in the day and in the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. Good night and God bless you.